Good evening and welcome to Dumb SEO Questions, episode 132. Each week we answer the questions asked on the SEO Questions community on Google+. With us tonight we have Alistair Lattimore. Alistair is Senior SEO Manager for whatif.com, part of the Expedia Group. Senior SEO Manager for Zazzle.com is Micah Fisher-Kirshner. I'm getting some feedback, guys. Has somebody got a mic on? Micah Fisher-Kirshner is Senior SEO Manager for Zazzle.com in the United States. He lives on the west coast of the USA. Alistair lives on the Gold Coast of Australia. And in the Netherlands, Rob Mars is an AdWords aficionado and also a Google top contributor on the Dutch language for AdWords and web search and search. Oh, he's gone. We've lost Rob. I must have insulted him. And Tim Capper, proud to call himself an SEO. He's a conversion rate optimization specialist from the frozen wastelands of the United Kingdom. Okay, we have, if I can find the right button, each week we have these questions to answer. And our first one tonight is from Brett Saltalamakia. It's title tag for an icon for a icon class. Brett said, "Hi, if I was to add a title tag to an icon class, will this still benefit in terms of SEO? I haven't really thought about adding a title tag to an icon class. What about an alt? Would this be beneficial for non-images?"
I don't really know. I don't think that it gets used, but it's not going to hurt. You could add it from an accessibility standpoint. You know, I think the title tag, or title attribute, sorry, when you add it to something is what shows up on the tooltip when you hover over it with your mouse. So if you wanted to provide a rich tooltip using a little JavaScript library or something like that, you'd probably find that there might be ones that would hook into the title attribute and produce a rich, a fancy-looking tooltip instead of just the default one. So you could add it; it wouldn't hurt. What about an alt? Would that be beneficial for non-images? No, so the alt tag is only, or the alt attribute's only useful on images, as far as I'm aware. Google would ignore it if you added it to a link, for instance. So I wouldn't bother.
Okay, anybody else? It sounds like an answer to me. Our next question is from Niraj Kayas Kumar, but he's signing himself K. Niraj Kayastha now. It's titled Wikipedia Keyword Stuffing is Justified. So Wikipedia stuffing keywords is okay, but not mine. Is Google biased? I'm sharing here two snippets, one from Wikipedia and the other is of my own site, KNKayastha. You can see that minor has been repeated 4 times in Wikipedia's results. It comes first on a search engine results page. Why does my description with 3 times of Niraj is keyword stuffing?
So this is not what we normally would define as keyword stuffing. usually when you're looking at a whole page of kind of content, and if something is repeatedly used over and over and over and over throughout the whole page, that's kind of something else. But, you know, and I think kind of a bit of the point is just more if it's explanatory and it's talking about it, that's a little bit different as kind of a definitional standpoint than it is kind of trying to do something nefarious when it comes to specific keywords. But from an example standpoint, I mean, that's as mentioned in the comments. This is Google's just pulling it either from the meta description, probably it looks nice, versus kind of the page itself, and that's fine. I mean, nobody, it's not a big deal pulling it from a meta description, and it's only, you know, probably in this case less than 150 characters, but which is not something that matters whatsoever. It's a very small amount of content. You know, seeing far more usage of similar words multiple times. I mean, you can look at pretty much just about any e-commerce search type page or category page, and they'll repeat a specific phrase a number of times if they're providing you a set of results because that's what you're looking for. So when we talk about keyword stuffing, we're talking oftentimes at a very, very, very high extent, oftentimes not from a necessarily trusted site, than we are from, say, a small snippet in a meta description.
Okay, does someone want to build on that?
I think the first thing is someone has probably pointed this out already, but you know, Wikipedia doesn't use meta descriptions. That's the first thing. So the snippet that is showing up in the SERPs is coming out of Google's quick algorithm, keywords in context, and they'll select any number of sentences out of the page that they feel provide context against whatever the user's query happens to be. I don't feel as though you'll find that they necessarily weight the first 3 sentences, for instance, any more than the middle 3 sentences in a long article. If you were to do a query for that particular page that was in the question and picked out keywords that were in the middle of the article that weren't the title, for instance, of the article itself, you would find that Google would pick different sentences, join them in different ways to produce a different description for the SERP for that particular query. So the idea, for instance, like Micah said, that this is keyword stuffing, it's just wrong. They're not related in any way. So I think in that particular instance, you're probably off base in thinking about it that way. It's probably, well, it's not how I would think about it. I shouldn't say that you're wrong. It's just not how I would think about it. They're definitely not keyword stuffing in that way, in the traditional sense, like Micah said. So, and then the other reason, I mean, ultimately you're asking why, you know, you reference your name, for instance, 5 times or 10 times, someone else references it less. Why do they rank and you don't? Your rankings or someone else's rankings for a given term aren't based on how many times you repeat the phrase. Google has stated this countless times before. You know, Google, Matt Cutts has put out videos on it. You know, once you mention a phrase 2 or 3 times on a page, you don't need to keep repeating it 50 times. It won't make you rank better mentioning that phrase 50 times on a page. It's just a waste of time. The fact that Wikipedia happens to reference the name of a city 150 times on an article about a city that's 1,000 or 2,000 words long, well, who cares? It's relevant and contextually in place with an article like that. I reference my name on my blog, for instance, maybe once. Guess what? I rank for my name. You know, they're not linked like that. So if you're not ranking for your name, as an example, and that's something that you want to do, you should be looking for other things that aren't how many times you reference your name you should be looking at how your site gets linked on the web. For instance, do you link to your website with link text like SEO specialist, or do you link to it with your name? For all of the other people that are beating you in the search results for your name, as an example, how do they have their site set up? What do their link profiles look like? What anchor text do they have that are sending signals back to them? So on and so on and so on. It's not the fact that someone's mentioned their name or your name 5 times versus 10. That's ranking or not ranking this.
Okay. Niraj, I hope that answers, or those answers from Micah and Alistair satisfy you. All right, here's a next question. It's from Ritu Ahuja, and a huge difference in my page views data. Ritu said, hi everyone, there is a huge difference in my page views data. In Google AdSense, my views are comparatively double the page views in Google Analytics. I don't know which data I should consider, and which data ad sites will consider. I will appreciate any help. Thanks. From an avatar, Ritu's a very pretty lady. That's a wonder Tim Capper's not answering this one already.
Yeah, and this, I mean, I'm not familiar on the AdSense side, but generally, you know, the community kind of comment about double checking your analytics probably would be a good start. Just making sure that the code's installed on every page for both, really for both of them, or if you've accidentally installed the AdSense tracker multiple times. And also depends on what filters you might have set up within analytics. Maybe you've blocked a specific area that AdSense isn't looking at. Those would kind of be the first starting points to make sure, kind of basically check the simple stuff that you might have missed first before going on further. Let's see. Yeah, if you can take a look at specific page level data, see if there's specific instances of where the difference is occurring. I don't know how far in depth you can go with the AdSense data, but if you can drill down and find out where those numbers are specifically differing, whether it's by country or by referral source, those can help to kind of weed out what might be going on.
Yep. I see. I'll go ahead. I interrupted somebody then.
I was just going to say, I think you might find that your AdSense tracking code is being used on another website by accident. So you'd probably want to log into AdSense to have a look at the different reports and see if you can find out what host names or websites your ads are appearing on, or your account IDs appearing on, and you might find out by accident there's a typo, for instance, somewhere else. That's causing the page view data to inflate. The other thing that you might want to check is that your AdSense scripts are installed properly on your site, and that you're not accidentally firing them twice for every page view, as an example, by accident. I don't know if that's hard or easy to do these days, but it'd be worth reviewing the documentation from Google on how to, properly install the AdSense tracker or ad serving unit to make sure that it's implemented in line with their recommendations.
Yeah, I see Navaja Jokic, one of our forum heroes, answering the questions on the SEO Questions community through the week, mentioned a website, www.gachecker.com. check Google Analytics on Rutu's website. Yeah. I think we'll call that an answer for you, Rutu, and if we need to say more, please ask again. Next, we have a question, and it's from Brett Saltalamakia, titled Exact Keyword Phrase in the Domain. Brett said, "Hi, I need some help establishing a first spot ranking for a desired keyword. I'm quite puzzled that the site I'm doing work for isn't first yet, it's second. However, the first spot is taken by a website which has the exact keyword phrase in its domain. Rumours are going about that exact keyword match in the domain name doesn't affect SEO, when in fact it does. The site I'm doing work for has a much better link profile than the site taking the #1 spot. I have been building links for the last couple of weeks, worked on my anchor text optimization for that keyword, and I'm having no luck. It's like Google is giving that website the advantage just because of their domain. Any ideas for taking over a site which has the exact keyword phrase in the domain?" Brett should be asking, how do I keep my own work from shooting my site down, I think.
So Google have said in the past that the domain name mattered, and then over the years they've continued to dial that down further and further and further. There may still be some small benefit to having the keyword in the domain, but they say that it's it's not massive these days compared to what it might have been. I don't know if they necessarily refer to it these days as like a second order signal, or not, but they've definitely said that they've wound that way back compared to where it was. In terms of why you're not ranking for that phrase, it could be that the links that you've been building haven't been indexed yet. If you're getting links out of smaller websites that don't get crawled that frequently, a lot of the links you're building may not have been crawled and indexed yet. The links you're building could be crap links that, as far as Google's concerned, despite the fact that you think that they're relevant. Google may determine that they don't like them for whatever reason in terms of their relevancy, and they're discounting a lot of the links that you're building. So there's a number of reasons. The other thing as well is that links are not the only thing that drives rankings for this stuff. They're a big factor, but they're not the only thing. There's plenty of examples where you'll see a website that's got a much smaller page rank, as an example. Very bad example, but where a website with a lower page rank will outrank a site with a higher page rank. Or someone that comes onto the SEO Questions videos every once in a while, Dan Petrovic, he has an amazing digital marketing SEO blog, publishes lots of stuff, got an amazing link profile, yet he doesn't rank for every phrase that you might think that he should rank for, despite the fact that he's got a great site, great content, great link profile. There's things in there that competitors are able to do to knock him down, or that he hasn't done yet to optimize his site maybe. So there's a lot of things going on here other than just you building links and expecting to rank. And then I maybe review what you're doing, or review the content on the site, or rethink the relevancy of the websites you're getting links from. I always give an analogy when I'm speaking to people about this, that if you were to go and throw a party, so to speak, for your client, and you wanted to rub shoulders with the A-list people in your industry, whoever they might be, in your local city or the industry in general, who are the people that you would invite so that everyone thought that it was an amazing party? To some degree, I find that that's a useful analogy, I suppose, from a link building standpoint, because it removes the fact that you would just go chasing links for links. You're chasing links because they're super relevant to your business and they're high quality. So maybe that's something to look at instead.
Yep. Totally agree. And the one thing I would point out to Brett Saltelemakia on the SEO Questions community on Google+, Tony Enichik said, based on what you wrote, you've been doing, I'd be surprised if you don't get penalised soon. That's something that I would look at very closely too, Brett. I see we've just been joined by Edwin Jonk, CEO of IDESTHOST in the Netherlands. You can find Edwin at idesthost.nl. And no, am I wrong? Okay, and also Masataki Wasa has just joined us. Masa is a webmaster of wasaweb.net and also a Google Top contributor on the AdSense and Google Plus Help communities. The next question is coming from Pankaj Asopa, looking for tools to check SEO issues. Pankaj said, hello everyone, excited with this community. So are we, Pankaj. Just a beginner in SEO, so are we again. Following basic rules for SEO to maintain websites on Google. Do we have any tools to check SEO issues? As in Google Webmaster Tools gives us the options to check issues, but is there anything else which spans more or is broader?
You could have a look inside the other webmaster tools. As an example, if you verify a site in Bing, the Bing Webmaster Console these days is very good. There's an excellent amount of information in there. I would argue that it's better than Google on a lot of fronts. And they surface a lot of other issues that are just as relevant for Google as they are for Bing. So that's cool. There's a lot of tools you can use as well. Some are free, some aren't. You could have a look at something like Screaming Frog is very popular in the industry. It's free. That lets you crawl up to about 500 pages in a website with slightly reduced feature sets. If you've got a bigger site or you want to use all of the features in the tool, which is quite amazing, it's about £100 for a license. Well worth the money. It's excellent. Microsoft have got one called IIS SEO Toolkit. That's a snap-in for Windows for the IIS web server. It's free, provides a wealth of information. There's a couple other ones like Visual Website Optimizer, or no, Visual SEO Crawler, or Visual, what's it called? Visual SEO Studio. I don't remember the name of it. Yeah, Visual SEO Studio. What other ones exist? There's a whole raft of tools kicking around. Like if you go on Google website crawlers, how about Xenu Link Sleuth? It's free. It doesn't have a whole lot of information in it, but it's free and fast. But simplistically, I guess for £100, if you wanted to have a crack at Screaming Frog, it's hard to go past. And the Visual SEO Studio one, I have a funny feeling it's free because I think it's still in beta. Yeah. I'll include a link to the visual SEO and Screaming Frog in the question on the Dumb SEO Questions website.
Thanks, Alistair. All right, moving on. Let's look at our next question. This is from Nick Brigham, who wants to know the best way to build an audience from zero. He said, I have a blog and zero audience. What is the best way to build an audience from zero? I remember years ago, Alistair, the Break Free Resort site had zero visitors at one point there.
Yes.
And you built it up?
Yeah, I think a lot of this to find an audience. I mean, it's very popular these days to go down the content marketing route. It seems to be sort of the flavor of the month, I suppose. But if that's too much effort for you at the moment, maybe, why not consider engaging with different communities online? Find the people online that you know, interested in the same things you're interested in as far as your business is concerned. Like, go into places like Twitter, for instance, and find the people that talk about your topics using Twitter search, or go into Facebook and see if there are Facebook groups you can join, or are there normal traditional web forums that you can join, or Google Plus communities, or you know, LinkedIn. If it's a business-orientated thing, are there groups in LinkedIn that you can join? You know, have a look around for where do the people go that you're interested in, that are part of your sphere, I suppose, industry, and try and find out where they are and start participating in those discussions. And you might find that through understanding that community better, it opens up a whole rack of doorways for you to increase the followers and stuff like that, or your community that follows your business.
Yep. Anybody else?
Yeah. I mean, the thing is, he did say it's a blog. So the thing is, you pretty much need to get stuff on there. And then, of course, work it in with marketing it like Alistair suggested. So, I mean, if you're a blog, people expect to be reading something. It can't sort of be empty. And then you need to engage with people in ways that Alistair suggested to draw them in. I mean, just to give you a basic example here, a rough one, online ownership, my site, I had to, there was a big hoo-ha. The site went down. It came back up 2 years later when I left the agency, so I started out again for myself. Anyway, so starting from zero traffic, it's been coming up to 2 years now. I'm up to 7,000 visits a month purely on the content that I sort of, you know, that I generate, that I market out there, that I push it out there, the groups that I'm involved with, they read my, you know, they read my content. So, you know, it's not going to happen overnight, but it does happen, and you'll find a regular. Once you're in a community and different communities, you'll see what they want to enjoy and read and engage with, and then you'll start targeting and creating content around that, and it all starts fitting into place.
Yep, it certainly does. All right, let's call that an answer, and we'll move on to the next. when it comes up. Oh dear. This is from Harsh Singh on how to remove bad reviews from Google search. He's not telling us, he's asking us.
What do you mean, you know, that somebody's left a bad review on your, you know, on TripAdvisor or wherever, or Yelp or things like that? I'm assuming that's what you're talking about. Or has somebody created a blog that's bad? Well, let's assume that it's from other sites, like Yelp and review sites, things like that. The first thing you want to do is obviously claim ownership of those pages. So whether it's Yelp, your Google business page, whether it's on Trustpilot, you know, all these other different kinds of places. So obviously, once you've got ownership, you can actually reply. The first thing is customers want to see how you deal with that also. It's not just all the good and the happy and the rosy. You're going to want to, you know, create a reply. Listen to actually what the guy's bitching about. You know, this guy has bought something of yours that he's not happy with, and deal with that properly and professionally. The next stage is, you know, how bad was that review? Can you actually implement? Can you build on it? Can you create something on your site, or you know, instill something that is, you know, hey, look, we've addressed this issue because we've put this and this in place. So other people reading that are going to respond positively to that, to your response to a bad review. Then, of course, you want to build better reviews from happy customers on those particular sites to push down that negative review. And ultimately, as those gets pushed down, the more regular positive ones will be indexed, and those ones will ultimately be, you know, more visible in search. And of course, they'll be more visible on there. But the point is, you need to deal with the negative review. Don't bury your head in the sand about it. Actually, deal with it, you know, properly, professionally, and you know, other customers will appreciate that. If they happen to read it or scroll down through the good reviews that you're building up. Now, if it's reviews based upon the fact, for example, that someone's actually created a you know, a blogger account and actually left a bad review like that, well, I mean, those are quite, you know, just from the domain itself, it's, you know, they're powerful and they are going to show in search. But the generally accepted method there is obviously to get yourself social profiles, you know, things like that, possibly get other happy customers who have got, or suppliers, etc., who have got access to their own blog to you know, publish something positive about you, and ultimately hopefully push the other one, you know, lower down in the search results, but they won't disappear. But yeah, so, you know, two scenarios there. You there, Jim?
I am now, Tim. Sorry, I just had to dash out. I had something that took my attention here. Sorry about that. So we've finished this one and we're on with the next. Is that it? Is that right?
Yep.
Okay. Question from George is Emmanuel Huru. Alistair, could you mute for me, please, mate? I'm getting a bit of feedback through there. George, as Emmanuel said, is are search queries data from Google Webmaster Tools important enough for your company to keep a record of day-to-day activity? And if it's important to you, do you keep a record of the displaying number for impressions and clicks?
I don't think it's relevant enough or updates for daily. No, twice, every second week or monthly, yes, but you're not going to get any, not daily.
And they save it for 90 days now? Or how long can you go back?
About 90 days still.
Yeah. So a quarter would be doable.
I mean, it's interesting if you need to keep it for specific situations. If you're looking to try to match it up, well, pages level would be more interesting, kind of to link it up. But if you're looking to just kind of see if you've got a set few terms that you want to make sure is driving traffic into the site, then at least it might be something to have. But there's still a number of issues kind of that often crop up with the data inside of Webmaster Tools, and particularly since it's not exactly the easiest to drill down currently. But they are doing a beta test to hopefully make that right now better, so that might be something to keep an eye on in the next month or two about what they're doing when they come to making the changes, and it might be more useful then. I've heard so far positive feedback from people who've been in the beta about kind of the drill down data that they've added into it.
So on the backing up front, I suppose, if you want to, you can go and join Webmaster Tools and GA and AdWords and stuff together. And by joining all of those things together, your data in Google Analytics will get stored for a year as opposed to 90 days. So that's a really easy way. I mean, granted, it doesn't let you go back past a year, but a year is a fair bit of look-back window. It takes 2 seconds to set it up. If you genuinely do need to back it up further than that, there's some automated tools out there that will do this for you. Dijon SEO has got a tool that you can just log into essentially, and it will download your Webmaster Tools data every day and log it into their database for you. And then you can essentially do what you can do in the Google interface, but inside theirs, for as far back as you've been collecting the data since you joined your accounts to it, which is pretty cool. In terms of the relevancy of the data, I've got a love-hate relationship with it because a while ago Google said, people were complaining that there were too many queries in there that had less than 20 or something or other on the impressions front, and the clicks and stuff weren't accurate enough. And now, then they made changes to it, and they got a lot more accurate, which was good. But in my experience, at least, we still see a lot of kind of weird anomalies happening, and I don't know whether it's like it's real, so to speak, or if it's is it really the data that we're seeing in terms of impressions and clicks? Is it always like genuinely real, so to speak? Like it's hard to validate that sometimes. But I think as a trend, you might as well do it. It's free. It's the only place that you can get impression data from for your website in terms of impressions as opposed to clicks, which is what Google Analytics shows. It also gives you ranking data, which is pretty sweet, for free, which is kind of handy. And then in the last 30 days of the window, you get change data as well. on any date range inside the last 30 days. So if you decide to start making changes to your title tags, as an example, and you want to understand, have title tags or descriptions that you've had impacted your click-through rate, you get that data as well inside the next 30 days of look back, which is also pretty sweet. So you might as well use it, I reckon.
Yes, I think it's deliberately misleading. I think Google doesn't want us to be too well informed. If they did, they'd give us our keywords. Anyway, let's move on to the next. George's Emmanuel, I hope you're satisfied with that response. This one is from Darko Savito-Likovic, who said, "Hello everyone, I have a problem. The value of my website has fallen. My domain is sajtik.rs. We are doing a redesign, so there is no content." It's strange because I looked at this site, and although there's no content on the front page, there is plenty within the site. Anyway, it is not very valuable, but if it is falling, there is a problem, right? I used this site tools, www.seomastering.com, and here are the screenshots. Darko, I hope you weren't just putting in a promotion for SEOmastering.com. Anyway, he gave us 2 screenshots which can be seen on the SEO Questions community on Google+. I'm just waiting to see if he's had anything more to say before I throw it open. No, that's all he had to say.
So in terms of any metric that's going to return you some arbitrary value figure based off of who knows what data, that's just useless. Ignore it. Your website's worth as much as someone's willing to pay you for it. So if you're looking to sell it, it's worth as much as the money you get for it. Any tool that gives you some craptacular number, I wouldn't spend any time even investigating that at all. You should be far more interested in what's actually happening with the traffic that you're getting, the rankings you're getting, and the goals, sales, leads, conversions that your website's generating for your business, depending on whatever it is that your business does, sells, generates leads for, etc. The other things that these third-party tools do, doesn't mean anything. So I wouldn't spend any time thinking about it.
And I see on the SEO Questions community on Google+, Richard Hearn, who is a relentless domainer, he assessed the graphs given as total rubbish. He said, ignore them. You don't have a site content, so how could it have any value? Focus on building your site for target users, then try to promote your site as you would a business. Ignore graphs like this, especially if you don't fully understand where they came from. Okay, let's move on to the next, unless somebody else wanted to add something to this. I see Edwin Yonk relentlessly pursued Darko to make sure that he disabled all the links in this question. Okay, let's move on to the next, and it's a question from Pankaj Asopa. Another question from Pankaj. Does anybody have any deep thoughts on the knowledge panel? I'm working on achieving the headquarter and social profile thing, but it is not appearing. I've tried for almost 3 weeks, but no luck so far. Any views on this?
What he's talking about the social markups. Yeah, well, I wouldn't get hung up about it. You know, when Google gives you these when they say that, oh, you know, we recognize these social markups now. Yeah, you know, they're saying, okay, we recognize it, but the point is whether they use it or not, and they aren't for regular sites at the minute. The only ones where they seem to be appearing is for, you know, high authority brands and sites. Apart from that, you know, us normal people out there, we're probably going to have to wait a little while before they start actually implementing it or recognizing it on your site and actually start using it. So until then, just be happy that you've got the knowledge panel showing, and consider it a nice big fat cherry on top of the cake when eventually your social icons start appearing in it.
Yep, I think that's a reasonable answer, unless anybody has something to add. Here's a question. Oh, you go ahead.
Well, he isn't a corporation, is he? So then that headquarters would be switched for just for the local address with reviews and stuff, which can be more valuable than just having headquarters with an address. No?
Mm-hmm. All right, Edwin. Okay, let's move on to this next one, which is from Arithmal TP, who asks, hi, what is assisted conversions and assisted conversion value in Google Analytics?
So this is the revenue or goals or conversions that are assisted. So let's just say that a visitor comes to your website through Google organic search and a Google paid ad and a Bing paid ad, for instance, and they come through several different channels as they come to your website across the course of a day or a week. The assisted conversion, so Google Analytics works on last touch attribution. So the last channel that the user came into as they converted on your website, let's say they bought a book. If they came off of the Bing ad last, directly before they purchased the book, Bing is going to be attributed the revenue for the book and the sale, so to speak. And until Google released these reports that you're referring to, you couldn't easily see any revenue that was being sort of helped, I suppose, through a paid ad in Google and then an organic click in Google. They would get no attribution for the sale that ultimately came from Bing as the last touch before they converted. So using these assisted values, you can understand how much revenue those channels are, or conversions, if you don't have an e-commerce site, how many conversions those channels are helping you deliver, even though they aren't the last touch before the conversion happened.
Yep, fair enough. Any other responses? Okay, let's go to our next. Charging through these. Ben Balligad asked a question titled Penalties for Long Tail Keyword. Ben said, hello again. Thanks again for the panel on answering SEO questions. On behalf of the panel, you're welcome, Ben. he goes on to say, if you rank for a particular long tail keyword on a particular post, what are the SEO penalties, if any, for adding or changing the words of other posts to accommodate these keywords? Of course, those words should be relevant. Therefore, if one or two words do not fit, then it will not be added. What I mean is, adding or changing words without radically changing the main idea of the post. In the comments on the post, which is on the SEO Questions community on Google+, Ben said, what I was afraid of, if it is not always good for SEO.
I don't think there's any. You're not going to get penalised, for instance, for editing an article and adding in more content to an article and making it better. I wouldn't go and add these keywords to it just for the sake of adding the keywords to it. If you want to genuinely improve the article, then make the edits and improve the article. If that means that you can add better descriptions or better keyword variants or include some of these long tail things, then fantastic. But I wouldn't edit them just to go and add the long tail keywords. That being said, you're also unlikely to get penalized for doing that either. So,
just to add some background to this, Ben said, I think I got pandered, still getting that feedback, Al. I think I got pandered by changing words to get a better position on Google, like Nebojša Jokic is warning me against. More than that, I use them as anchors to the outgoing links. That is clearly a link scheme as defined by Google. My impressions went way down and have not recovered. I did go back and fix the anchor part, but not the long tail keyword I was trying to rank for. They are still there, but not as anchors. I was thinking of either going back and put them back to what it was before I added the keywords, or simply work on web promotion, as Nebojša says, and fix them as I run into them. I think when you do suffer a loss, you go through many stages when your traffic disappears, and the thing you have to guard against is altering so many things that you actually end up worse off than you were before. Any more for Ben? Okay, Ben, well, look, I hope that you'll find that helpful, but feel free to ask again. Here's from somebody who calls themselves SEO Analyst, implementing site links search box. He or she said, hi friends, can you suggest to me how to implement a site link search box for our online shopping website? I have updated the schema markup on my website homepage, but it is not updated in our search engine result pages yet. Hello, Richard Hearn. Richard is a conversion rate optimization specialist. He deals with higher echelon sites. You can find Richard on redcardinal.ie. He's currently, I think, in Dublin, but often in Thailand, and he's just left us again. He must have a bad link. Can you suggest to me? Yeah, go ahead.
So that search box he's talking about, that would appear in the site links basically. I just did a search for his brand name, and he comes up with 6 site links, and not the search box, which is quite normal. I think it's fine the way it looks now, and I don't think Google will give you the search box. Search box is more for large websites. But who knows, maybe they change it next week. And you have your search box.
Yep. Okay, let's move on. I hope that's the answer that you were looking for. And our next is from the leader TT on old metadata. He or she said, I have a 10-year-old domain, but an ugly site which has good rankings, and a not ranked domain, but a pretty site 3 years old, same business. I am moving the pretty site to the old ranked domain. I have collated all of the titles, descriptions, and keywords from my old site, which has good ranking. My concern is that they are all identical. There is new metadata in the new version of the site. I personally feel that coupling the new metadata, which is unique to the page, with the age of the domain, you will fare better by not putting the old metadata in. What are your thoughts on this? Thanks. One thing I'd add to this, the leader TT said this is what he's doing with the switching of the site. He said the guy doing the switch for me has taken a full backup of the original site, created a list of 301 redirects ready to go into the site, changed the absolute paths in the HTML to referential paths. I don't know if that was a great idea. Changed the year in the footer. Is there anything else we should be doing to try and keep the ranking? The only thing I'd suggest is use rel canonical on the both the old site and the new site to the to the equivalent page on the new site, and do that for a little while before you implement the 301 redirects.
So if he's planning to kind of turn off his ugly site and use the pretty site in its place, but on the good domain, the process for this, he should kind of do, this is going to be a little bit tricky for him to do, but hear me out. Google's recommendation for this is to do it in chunks. So he should leave, if possible, he should update the design on his current ugly site without changing the meta title tags, description tag, content, etc. Just change the design, but nothing else. And see how that works for him in search. Make sure nothing untoward happens. Once he's changed the design, then you could come up, for instance, and start migrating in or changing the URLs around if you really have to. You could change the URLs, and then begin to change content and other things as well after the fact. But essentially, their recommendation has been in the past, do one thing at a time, so that if something goes wrong, you understand what you were doing that actually caused the problem, so you can fix it, and then move forward. Often that's unfortunately not very practical for a lot of businesses, and they end up having to kind of do a big bang approach where they change all of the things at the same time. And the process for this just needs a bit more planning to make sure you get it right. But the basic process here would be put your pretty site onto your old domain, update all of the title tags, meta descriptions, content, etc. back into your new web page URLs or CMS or whatever. And then on all of your old URLs in your old domain, you should 301 redirect those, as Jim suggested, into the new equivalent URL for the same page on your new CMS, if you're changing CMSs, as an example. And all things going to plan, you shouldn't see any substantial changes in your rankings. One word of caution around this stuff is make sure you test it, like really, really test it. Go and grab every URL out of Google Analytics for the last, 6 months that's taken traffic, and feed those URLs into a crawler like Screaming Frog after you've implemented the redirects, and make sure that they work and that all of the redirects go to the pages that you think they do. All of the pages have got the right title tags, meta descriptions, so on and so on, and really make sure that there's no reason for Google to look at what you've done and think it's dodgy or out of place, and that they should honour the good work that you're doing to improve your website.
Thank you, Alistair. Hey, Richard, you finally stuck.
Yeah, sorry about that. I was trying to join in the tablet, and boy, oh boy, was it not working.
Yeah, it's not running as smooth, all that smoothly tonight. Okay, we've got. Let me see. One more question before we move on to our news section. Here is one from Rob K. Who said, so I have a tricky question regarding link juice. Background info. My company's website has 35 physical locations throughout the UK. Each location has its own social media accounts, local citations and reviews. Each location also has a each location also has a location landing page on the main website with a link like www.maindomain.com/location/keyword-location-name.html. The issue is that all the social media accounts, local citations and review listings include a direct URL to the main company homepage. In total, there are around 2,000 backlinks, all pointing to the main domain, with significant authority being passed along. This is great for the homepage, but not so great for the location landing pages, some of which obviously struggle to rank well in competitive locations. The question, if I were to change all of the location social media pages, local citations and review listings to point to the URLs of their corresponding location pages, could I harm my overall rankings by redirecting so much authority away from the main homepage? Clearly, I want the location pages to rank locally, and this change would help them do that. But I don't want to damage the presence of my main brand either.
So probably the answer here is yes, you could damage your site. The question you probably want to understand here is how much traffic do you get into your website, into your homepage? Does it rank for some really big, thick terms in certain markets and those phrases? Let's just say you rank for London plumbers, as an example. Like a really big generic one, and you've got plumbing businesses across 35 counties or suburbs, or I don't know, whatever you want to call them in the UK, in and around London or so forth. But that London plumbers phrase, and a bunch of others like that maybe, they make you a ton of referrals or money. If you go and redirect all of the links away from your homepage into the individual pages, there's a good chance that you'll lose the rankings for that phrase. Not guaranteed, but there's a chance. On the flip side, when you do that though, the likelihood is that your individual business listings for each of the 35 locations will probably improve in rankings in the organic results and potentially in the 7-pack or in Google Maps. So, yeah, I don't know that there's necessarily a right way in my head to approach this. There's kind of consequences, pros and cons in both approaches to what you're doing. Maybe what you could do is have a look at only removing, you know, pick the 3 weakest of the 30 or 10 of the weakest 30, and for all of their social profiles, go and update the links, but don't update all 35. Move all of their social profiles and business listing citations in, you know, Yelp or equivalent type websites back to the property business location page, and wait a month or 2 months and see what happens. Doing it to your weakest, least trafficked business locations, the likelihood is it'll have the least impact to your homepage rankings, but you may find that that's improving that for, you know, your 10 weakest business locations might be sufficient to give them a bump up in the search results. And if you can monitor that through Webmaster Tools or Google Analytics, it might give you a little bit more confidence about progressing that further without kind of having to do an all or nothing scenario.
What worries me a little bit is that he says he can change the backlinks. So does he have access to those websites pointing to his site? Or of course you can ask the webmaster, but yeah, that sounds a little bit shady to me.
Yeah, indeed.
Right, so
how much power can links have that this webmaster can control so obviously? You know, social media profile links, probably not so powerful, you know?
No, because most of them are no-followed anyway. The thing I'd be more interested with, so let's just assume that the 2,000 links, for the sake of the discussion, were all followed. They all passed equity, just to remove that out of the equation for a moment. From a local standpoint, in terms of getting your business listing to rank in local, you might find that it's more important that you audit all of your NAP data for all of your business locations first, instead of worrying about shuffling around links. Or, instead of worrying about shuffling around links, how about going and getting more links? So if you really feel that, you know, you've got your 35 locations in the top 10 business directories in the UK, and you don't want to go and add it to 500 business directories because that's a crap decision. So don't do that. So you've got it in the top 10. You might come up and go, okay, well, I'm going to put together a brand campaign or something like that to go and replenish the links into the homepage that I'm going to lose. So you can obviously quantify using things like Webmaster Tools or Open Site Explorer, Majestic, Ahrefs, etc. How many links are coming into your homepage off of the domains like Yelp or Yellow Pages that you would supposedly move to point to the business location page within your site? So whilst you're undergoing this sort of migration process, as it were, maybe you could be doing other brand-orientated activity or link building at the same time. And across the course of 3 months, you progressively update profiles and move them to the social accounts and business listings to the business location page, and progressively roll out more and more links or more and more branding and related activity into the homepage to replenish them chunk by chunk by chunk. Again, as opposed to doing the Big Bang approach. If you go and pull, say 50% of all of the links that go into your homepage are related to your business profile and business profiles across the web, and they're all followed links, in my head, the likelihood is that your homepage is going to drop in its rankings. It may be, though, like I mentioned before, that your homepage doesn't rank for much that's commercially valuable to you, and it's far more beneficial that your business location pages rank. As an example, in the business that you're in, maybe business category plus location is an absolutely paramount phrase that you need to rank for at a suburb level, as an example. And doing it like plumbers or London plumbers without being specific about the suburb specifically, maybe that's not as important for you. I think my recommendation in general would be don't be brash and change all of the things at once, because it could end badly for you. Just do it progressively if you want to make that change.
Yeah, but anybody else on this one? All right, well, we've done it again, guys, for yet another week. We've covered all of the questions on the SEO Questions community asked in the previous 7 days. Now we move on to our SEO News community. Each week through the week, we post items of interest, items of news which pop up in the SEO world, mainly Edwin Yog, sometimes Micah Fisher-Kirshner. This one I posted, and it was just that I wouldn't mind hearing a little bit of what Richard Hearn has to say, and also Alistair has turned up. Micah Fisher-Kirshner. I tell you, we've probably got a huge team here to discuss this subject on the user experience. Anyway, there was this simple thing shared. It was called, or it said, a user interface is like a joke. If you have to explain it, it's not that good. What can we bring? What can we talk about here, guys?
It's nice and bait-worthy. I don't think there's any new. Everyone knows that if people have to ask how to do something or what something does, you're going to lose a proportion of your traffic or a proportion of the attention to your website. So it's nothing new. It's an interesting analogy they use. But certainly any website you go to and you see, to do this, please click here, or click on this and then move this to there, you know that there's something wrong with their interface. And if there's something wrong with the interface, well, go and fix it. Don't explain to people how to use it, go and fix it.
In looking at sites how do you identify problems? Do you use things like Crazy Egg, which maps where people click, or do you just see them? Do you just see the problem and say that's got to be fixed?
The really for usability type issues, you generally have to be collecting qualitative data, and by that I mean you're not, like, analytics will collect quantitative data, but it won't collect qualitative data. So you could be running surveys or running user testing or user acceptance tests, whatever they might be, and collecting qualitative data. You'll always be amazed if you sit down with just one or two people and you ask them to do things on your website, you'll be quite stunned very often by what people actually do. And I know that running usability labs is it's not simple to do, but at the same time it is possible for nearly anybody to do. You know, you can run a small usability lab with a family member. You can just ask them to do things on your website and see what they do. And your eyes will generally be opened, because you tend to get blinkered when you work with one site for a long time, and you see things through a lens of your own previous knowledge with the website, and you know how things work. But someone who's new to the site, you'll be amazed at what they will or won't do, or how they'll perceive a site. You really have to collect data in some way, and it must be qualitative. And like I say, it's not trivial. I mean, even 4 questions, the survey that comes in a pop-up that's free, where you ask someone what was the purpose of their visit. Did they achieve the purpose of their visit? If so, would they be inclined to tell their friends? If not, why not? Something along those lines. You'd be amazed at the information that you'll get from people just with an open-ended input. That people will actually tell you things that you would never have imagined are wrong with your site.
Do you use Mechanical Turk from Amazon, for example?
I don't. I don't know whether I would, but just from the point of view that the problem then is that you're probably going to have a lot of bias in your audience. So I think you have to be careful who you select to do some of those tests. And the problem with Mechanical Turk is that these people have been paid to do something, so they're probably trying to make you happy. And that may not be. I would imagine there could be some value, but you've got to be careful that the bias doesn't start to slip into your test because of the audience that you've selected. I mean, there's plenty of. I'm trying to think. There's quite a few services that actually offer this, where they'll find you a sample group that you can test upon. I think usertesting.com, and there's a few other ones where they'll actually find users around the world, and you can tell them what type of audience you want. You can give them demographic information, you know, their job background, etc., and then they will run the test for you. And it's come down an awful lot. It's hundreds of dollars, whereas years ago, you know, to do some testing like this, you know, it would cost like just thousands and thousands for focus groups, etc. I've been involved with some of these big tests that are they've gone out to these big agencies and spent like 6-figure sums on doing these usability tests, but you can certainly do it for a lot less. If anyone wants to read a great book, just read the Steve Krug? He wrote Don't Make Me Think, and then he wrote a follow-up about what is it, testing. I think it's something like Testing Isn't Surgery or something. I can't remember the name of it, but it basically is a very short book that gives you details on how to run your own usability tests. Well worth a read.
Yep. Fantastic. Now I hear that Alistair Lattimore hasn't been with us for a while. Apparently he's moved a site, put up a brand new site, turning over $1 billion a year in 10 weeks. How do you cope with that? I mean, when it would scare me shitless, I have to tell you.
Well, you know, it's a bit like, what do they say? How do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time. Pretty much the same way. I mean, there's a lot of people involved in it, right? It's not just me, obviously. There's a whole raft of people involved on a technology front to make it happen at a business level, and it's a really big job from everyone's part and a huge amount of effort from everyone involved, all teams, not just my one. But, you know, broadly speaking, it's about planning, and probably the single biggest thing is working out a mechanism to generate the redirects. And, you know, migrating content and things like that across the sites. You know, you hear horror stories, for instance, about people doing site migrations where they've got a 10-page or a 50-page website. or a 500-page website. Well, what do you do when you've got 500,000 pages or 10 million pages? You know, the way that you need to approach that problem is very, very, very different to something that you can kind of manage more reasonably at a hand-to-hand level. So the challenge for these sorts of jobs where you're doing something that's very large is making sure you've got a mechanism to, you know, understand the site architecture for the old site and what makes it perform well, understand what the new site might look like or its functionality if you're changing CMSs or platforms or whatever, and then working out a mechanism to, you know, link those two things together so that you can basically accurately get, you know, from one URL onto an equivalent URL on the other side. And then probably the other big part of it is making sure you've got the monitoring in place. Once you've gone through all of this process, you know, you need to test the hell out of it, and when you finish testing, test it again, and then keep testing until you're sick of testing, and then probably test it one more time. And then once all of that's done, and you're kind of confident that you think it's going to go to plan, it'll get released into production. You need to test it again to make sure that nothing's changed between, you know, staging environments and production. And then probably the last thing along the way, immediately after you migrate, is having access to something to monitor what goes wrong. Invariably, despite best intentions from everyone involved, you'll miss things just because it's a really big site, and that's okay. Like, that's not a train wreck. So the trick is, I think, probably to make sure you've got access to tools or systems so that you can understand what's going wrong fast. It's completely not good enough, for instance, to find out about something 4 weeks after you've migrated. That's the wrong way to approach this in my eyes. So, you know, you want to be able to find out something's going wrong within hours of making the deployment, so that you can, you know, get people involved to help you fix it. Because sometimes the fixes might not be something you can do immediately. It might take a couple days before you could make the changes, for instance. So making sure you've got a mechanism to identify them so that you can get those improvements back into the site as quickly as practical. That's probably the key. Some things, you know, maybe it's still going to be 2 weeks after you've deployed before you might be able to fix something. But better that you find out about that breakage essentially, you know, within hours or a day or two of you releasing the new website, than finding out about that problem 4 weeks later and then having potentially a 2 or a 3 week wait before the fix gets into production. So you want to avoid those kinds of problems. But otherwise, it's just it's the same process, right, that you would do if you were doing a small site. It's just really, really big.
Thank you, Alistair, and thank you, Richard, for your insights. I'll watch this again. I love these hangouts. I really do. I learn so much. All right, let's go on to one posting from Edwin Yonk. Why suing over a review is rarely a good idea. I won't read this one out. It can be read on the SEO news community on Google+. But it's, I guess it's about that lawyer in the US that sued and ended up being pilloried by social media. Was it, Edwin?
No. This one is about a dog trainer. And one of her clients asked for a refund, and she didn't give the refund, and that customer left a bad review. But Mike Blumenthal doesn't go into the specifics if who's right. He just looks at it from more of a business position, like is it worth to proceed this in court? In short, he doesn't think it helped her in contest it. probably hurt her more. The first thing she could do, for example, get a listing on Google. She could have gotten additional reviews from Google, Yelp, and Angie's List. Some basic SEO. For example, her homepage was the title was Home. Also, social profiles. It appears that she doesn't have a Facebook or Twitter profile, so that will be beneficial. And it's going to court is costly. She could have done so much more with that money than just go to court for over one review. It's not worth it. That's basically the point Mike Blumenthal makes.
Yeah, well, I mean, other people read about it, other people are going to find out about it. Yeah, it's crazy. I mean, I don't know how much her dog classes were, but let's say $100. I mean, you go to court over a bad review that, one could have cost you, yeah, I know she had a policy of no refunds, but, there were like a million ways to sort this out. Go to court over a bad review. It's just, I mean, literally the thousands and the bad and the exposure. It's just, it makes no sense. And on the flip side of that, also, not to do with this, but I just noticed in Yelp today, on some Indiana restaurant, the reviews on this poor, this guy's pizzeria restaurant, because I think he came out in support of that new discrimination law or whatever. So he's pretty much got the entire alienated the entire gay league in the world very much. I mean, he's like got millions of bad reviews now. Yeah, in that sense, you couldn't go to court with those. It's just gazillions, I mean, upgrade your business. Look at your business practices rather than going to court over a flaming review. It's just ridiculous.
What Mike did miss in his article, and it's basically with every defamation case, is that the court is public. And every thing that is said in court will be written down and published in public. So newspapers will find out about it. Basically, you want to remove a bad review, but by that, you're making the bad review more public. And that's also, for example, if a newspaper wants to write an article about it and you go to court for defamation, that particular article becomes bigger than it was before. So in most cases, I wouldn't go to court for defamation because you end up with what you didn't want.
Yep, I couldn't agree more. All right, let's look at our next news item. I think we have 5 tonight. This was posted by Micah on Moz's new metric to measure penalisation risk. He said it may be rudimentary, but always good to see more services providing possible insights into issues with websites. Edwin Yong said these days it seems to be more and more about risk management, so it makes sense to have tools like these. They're both referring to Moz's new metric to measure penalisation risk, the spam score. Comments?
Well, it's not only about penalization. This particular spam score only looks at links. So if you're keyword stuffing, this particular score from Moz won't pick it up. They look at 17. Am I saying that right? Yes, 17 signals to see which if it is spam or not. And I think if you have 8, if you're flagged in 8 of them, they will list you as a red flag. So it's basically looking at if a link is good or not. And there are other tools on the web that do this. And I would be a little bit careful by saying that you can just download this and use it for your disavow tool, for the disavow tool. Did anyone looked at it, play with it? You're
No,
muted.
not yet. It's actually open on my screen at the moment to have a read through the article and then kick some tires.
Message from Micah. Dear. I'll put it in the chat.
Oh, Micah.
Well, I can't laugh. That's happened to me a couple of times. Yeah. Look, let's move on to the spam score and have a look at the next question. This one I think we'll get a rise out of Tim Capper. This is another demolition of Climb Online, the winner of Lord Sugar's reality show. And one of the headings, I titled it, one of the headings in this demolition of this young fellow was called "The True Business Model is Selling Snake Oil," but it doesn't seem to stop them getting clients. They're still pulling them in, even though they don't seem to be doing much in the way of SEO, and yet they're calling themselves the new breed of SEO. Anyway, comments on this one, guys?
Well, in the article it says that he has a lot of spammy links pointed to his site. To be honest, I wouldn't be surprised if he didn't do that, but some rogue SEO did that. Maybe it's negative SEO he's facing with particular with those links. So
actually, that's interesting. If that was done by somebody else, they're probably helping him, not hindering him at the moment.
I don't know.
It's very also, bear in mind that this would be quite high profile, so it's fairly likely that someone inside Google will be having a little sneak peek now and again. And if someone was building dodgy links into the site, I'd say they'd be keeping an eye on it. just simply because of just the profile that this has. So, but I don't think this is going to do any good for anybody. Overall, the service itself, I think, is going to be, well, after time, and if people don't get the results they expect, I think that that'll be the end of it.
Well, it'll be the end of this company, but in the meantime, they'll have brought damage on the SEO industry as a whole.
Yeah, and potentially they might bring damage on their clients. Who knows? It's difficult to say. I mean, it probably would damage things at the lower end, but you know, I think maybe if anything, like damaging things at the lower end might actually not be such a bad thing because it might sort of raise the demand at the higher end, which is really sort of where you need to go anyway. But I mean, it's not good, but what can you do? This is just the way it is. You can't commoditize this sort of service. It just doesn't work. It never has, and I don't think it ever will. So the sooner that this lets people see that it's not possible to turn this sort of low end service into a commodity, the better. You know, the better for everybody.
So you'd like to see him succeed?
No, I'd like to see them fail. I don't mean on a personal level. I don't want to see anyone fail, but like if you're saying about they could do a lot of damage to the SEO industry, well, I think it might be better for them to fail and fail publicly, so that people can see that you can't really turn SEO into a sort of commodity-based business, especially not a low-value commodity-based business. That if you want to do SEO and you want to do it well, actually it should be a much higher cost service, which it's become. You know, in the last few years, as Google has become more wily at penalizing people, and as the risks to doing things badly have risen over the last few years, that should be increasing the price of SEO, whereas these guys are trying to come in and offer a low-price service. I have no idea whether their service is good, bad, or indifferent, but I don't know personally how you can make something work at the price point that they're offering. I mean, even if you're paying somebody the lowest amount per hour, it still doesn't work out the number of hours they would be applying to any site. I just don't know how they're going to generate value out of it. But yeah, time will tell. I mean, I still think it's bizarre that it's got to where it is.
Yeah, but Google also stimulates it. They have their Premier Partner program where one of the requests or what the company should be able to do is to manage thousands of clients automatically.
For organic?
No, for AdWords.
Oh, for AdWords, yeah. Well, I think AdWords, I mean, AdWords is probably less of a black box, so I think you probably can manage. I mean, there are agencies that are managing a huge amount of AdWords spend. I think that you can do and you can scale and you can probably cost that. But I think with the organic stuff, it's much more difficult to cost, and you can't just provide a generic service product to each site. I don't think that'll ever work. So, I presume, huh?
Mostly they sell it as a combination, eh?
Yeah. I don't know. Thank God I don't have to rub shoulders in this sort of area. I don't know what they're doing, to be dead honest with you. But I just know, I think we all know that like SEO, you know, if anything, it's become much more difficult to do in the last few years. So I don't know how it can become cheaper as a service or product.
Well, to me, it's more about knowledge base SEO. So you cannot really say you cannot really sell SEO as a service, right? It's knowledge base. You have to read up about articles and about other things. And in another article, he does say, at least Mark said, that he doesn't know a lot about SEO, and then he starts an SEO company. That's like a lawyer starting a firm, or a not lawyer starting a firm. I don't understand.
Yeah, it's difficult to understand. I mean, I think he had some background certainly in this particular area. Wasn't he?
He was
Was he a salesman or something? Or?
yeah, salesman. I mean, in the e-consultancy article that came out, I think yesterday or the day before, he basically admits he doesn't know about SEO. He was in the sales side of things, and that's why he's employed SEO consultants. But then he then goes on to say, "Oh, I've got one from Yahoo, Bing, and Google," and it's like, well, that again is your sales pitch coming out, because that's a load of twaddle. If you look at the state of your site, and then you look at some perceived client sites, it's like there's just no way that someone from, if let's assuming they came from the search background in Yahoo, Bing, and Google, that they would let something like that go out. Yeah, he was sort of backpedaling in this article. It just made him look a fool. But at least this time, he's admitted he knows naff all about SEO, and he's the salesperson.
Yeah, that's a surprise to me, because as Alistair will attest, and this young fellow is an Australian, and Australians know everything about everything. So I just can't understand why he's
that was a bit of a
such
slur on
bad
Alistair. What's Alistair got to do with all this?
Alistair's an Australian.
I know, but why are you picking out Alistair?
Well, I'm an Australian.
Australians know. Are you trying to infer that Alistair knows everything about everything?
Well, look, what Alistair doesn't know,
But it's interesting, this guy, even if he doesn't know a huge amount about search, doesn't mean that he can't run a good business. I mean, if he gets the right people in who do have that knowledge, I think it's possible that it could work out. But I think the biggest thing, now I haven't read this article, but I read a previous article, was that the numbers just didn't stack up. If you worked out on, quite a low hourly rate for consultants, how many hours they would assign to each site, it just didn't stack up. To me, I think you're paying for nothing. You're paying peanuts and you're going to get monkeys. Like, it's no two ways about it.
Well, the thing is, he reckons he's got, in that article, he reckons he's got 81 clients now. So they're generating 32,000 a month. I think he said they've got 10 staff now. Yeah, so
10 staff. Well, let's take some ballpark figures. But SEO wouldn't be the highest paid. He's probably got a couple of people. If you get anyone with even a little bit of experience, you're probably going to pay 30 grand UK per year just for entry-level jobs.
Well, let's say we've got 5 crap staff on minimum wage at 15,000 a year. So that's 75 grand. Let's say the other 5 staff are on 30 grand a year because they kind of entry levels SEO.
He's going to have a couple of guys who have experience. You'd have to assume. So there's going to have to be a couple of guys who are on like 50, 60K. I would imagine. Like at least one. I mean, again, it just boils down to if he can scale this, and I suppose if he gets a couple of 100 customers, he could start to bring in some decent money and scale up more. But, SEO, it's not really something that scales well. You don't reuse, the same piece of work for multiple clients in general. So,
yeah. So let's say his clients are generating him 380,000 a year. His salaries are costing him 225,000 a year. That's just the salaries. That's no national insurance. There's nothing else on top of that. Plus, okay, they're based in Essex. 10 people. I mean, I'm assuming to get 10 people into an office, you're looking at a fair chunk of change. He's not making a profit yet. He's losing. So they need to double that. It's just.
I mean, the thing that his statement that he's going to give one-on-one service, like he's going to give bespoke service, and in the next breath, he then says he's going to outsource it. Well, the two are diametrically opposed, surely. You either give bespoke service, but if you do that, you can't outsource.
No, I disagree. I think that you one-on-one service would be that you would probably have an account manager, and I'm sure that you could outsource and have account managers. But you know, when you talk about outsourcing SEO, I think most of us would agree that that generally means you're outsourcing to Asia and Southeast Asia or somewhere around there. And yeah, I don't know how he's going to maintain quality. I'm sure he'll try, but I just don't see this working. I think that the only way he's going to make this work is if he scales to be an agency at a higher level and not at an entry level. So we'll see. I mean, like there's a lot of people watching, so they're not going to get away with much.
Yeah. All right. Let's call that a wrap for number 19 on our run list, and this one I think might be the last one. This is on SEO Ninja, SEO.ninja, and it's got to be an April Fool's joke, but Matt Cutts put on his blog that on the day before April Fool's that his latest project is providing automatic SEO. Did anybody see it?
Well,
yeah,
Jim,
I signed up for it.
Put SEO.ninja into your browser.
Well, Jim, the article you shared was the lame April Fool's joke from Globe Runner.
Oh, wait a minute. Have I mucked this up, have I?
No, I don't think so, because you did share it. It was a little lame.
Oh, right. No, I really have mucked this up. Yes, look, this news article was about Matt Cutts being hired to join a lower echelon agency. Totally screwed it up. Sorry, guys. I thought I shared the other one though. Let me. Anyway, any comment on Globe Runner? Okay, let's see if no. I must have put it somewhere else.
Oh, it's a good bit of link bait. Good bit of link bait.
Yeah. Well, yeah, but it left you with a bad taste in your mouth. So I don't know if the outcome is what they really want. But anyway, there was another one that Matt Cutts published on his blog. He made a Twitter post and followed that to his blog, and you'll find articles of Matt Cutts declaring that this SEO Ninja, SEO.ninja, is his latest project. That's surely another April Fool's joke, yeah?
Didn't he come out on Twitter a few days ago and said that some people had been approaching him to say that?
No, that was the Globe Runner one. And
then there's a different one. There's a Globe Runner. This is a different one again, is it?
Yeah, but I think the SEO Ninja one, he posted that on his blog. He said, "I'm going into auto SEO now." Blah 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 blah. It was on his own blog. So that one is an April Fool's. They did up, like a one-page site talking about this new auto SEO business and automated tools, and we're bringing it to you free of charge and all this kind of stuff, which was great. It was really great. I signed up for it. I want to see what they do with my data. So yeah, no, that was a good crack. And then unfortunately, PFR yesterday also tweeted and Google Plus, hey guys, I'm leaving Webmaster Search. I'm going over as a product manager or something for ads. And everyone was like, yeah, right, piss off. And he was like, no, seriously, I am. So his news was genuine, and he's like, "No, seriously, guys, no, seriously, this is true." And we're like, "Yeah, whatever."
Oh, I'm sad to see PFR go. He's my favourite Googler.
Pierre is a nice guy, quite funny.
Yeah, and
He's
then it turns out
one of the few people I met who's taller than me.
I think he's doing, and then it kind of came a little bit that he's maybe going to mobile also and quality. He was kind of like leaving little hints there, and then when someone said something, he said, "Oh no, you'll find out, you'll find out." So he's still in the quality. I think he's maybe getting his hands, dipping into the mobile side of things.
He's going to be a PM, so I'd say it's going to be something completely different, like he'll be a product manager, so not sure what the product is, but we'll see. I'm just wondering where it's interesting that the web trends analyst team seems to be getting smaller.
Well, they're certainly not telling us who's replacing him. So, will they all become faceless men?
I was thinking to myself earlier. I was wondering whether maybe perhaps the sort of openness that you've seen in Google around search in the last couple of years, whether that might soon be a thing of the past. The fact that they're not telling anybody about updates, and there must surely be updates going on. Like, I don't think things are staying static. So they're not telling anyone about updates. They're not been as vocal. I mean, they're still going to conferences, but I'm not sure that they're still been as vocal about what's going on. And it certainly does look like a change has taken place in terms of how they're approaching webmasters, etc. So it'll be interesting to see what happens and whether they have someone new come in.
Yeah, I'm sure Google has looked at the whole thing about Google Plus and considered as the openness and transparency as a mistake. I mean, even the Google Transparency Report is hardly transparent.
No, well, I mean, Google, like, they don't try to be transparent about themselves too much. But I suppose you could say that on the search side, the webmaster team has been historically quite transparent, or probably more transparent in other areas or search engines. So it's a matter to see how that's going to pan out now over time, whether they're going to keep with that or whether they're going to sort of hold back a little bit on the transparency.
What about the transparency report, don't you like, Jim?
Well, like for argument's sake, with the information on the data that they give to government, they literally misled us with that. That they didn't tell us that they had were receiving a six-figure sum for making it easy for government, like US government operatives, to access data without a warrant on people like you and I. Like, in other words, people that aren't actually everybody here. Everybody here right now can have their information accessed without a warrant because we're not on US soil. They didn't tell us that.
I doubt they would have been allowed to say it, even if they wanted to, though. I mean,
So
all those programs are secret.
it's probably worth pointing out here that's not a Google thing.
Yeah, I mean, shit.
That's
The
the
UK
US
government has recorded every freaking phone conversation going on in Europe for the last 15 years. It's like, come on, you know, this is not an internet thing.
No. My issue with this stuff is that all of this stuff is being done, not necessarily Google or Yahoo or businesses. My issue is with the government surveillance. People like the NSA, GCHQ, and I'm sure the Australian Federal Police, or ASIO, I suppose, which is our spy agency, have got far too much power for them to do things without purview. And the requirements for them to report on whenever they leverage these powers is cloaked under national security laws. You know, like the other day, Australia passed data retention, mandatory data retention for internet usage, right? They've got no idea how much it's going to cost. They're not saying whether the government will help pay for it. If they don't, ISPs will have to wear the cost. The ISPs are tentatively throwing out figures at $100+ million a year about with the amount of data that they need to store and for the period for this retention thing. And then there's essentially no decent mechanisms for reporting on when any government agency or third parties, if they're allowed to, are allowed to access this information. And they're saying, oh, it's metadata, right? But what they're really saying is they're tracking every request that goes across the web. Because you can't track metadata for a web request. You track the web request, right? It's not like the analogy they had when they were doing it with phone calls is that, oh, well, we track where the call originated from, where it went to, and the duration, but not the contents of the call, right? Well, they tried with that kind of bullshit analogy with the internet data retention laws stuff at the early onset of this thing. And it doesn't work with the internet, obviously. You can't track the origin and the destination without not knowing about what the content of it was. You know, it's part of the payload. So they've got all this stuff, and now governments will be able to surveil what everyone's doing here. It's just wrong. You know, it does my head in. And the expectation, I think, that I used to think that you know, if you're not doing anything wrong, what have you got to hide, broadly speaking? And I just don't. They've gone too far. My opinion on that now has well and truly changed, because the level of surveillance that they're doing now is so far beyond reasonable. Anyway.
Yeah, but they do need information about potential terrorists or criminals or drug traders, or they need information. The problem with this is the mass data collection they do. It's basically a shotgun. Collect everything, and then we look at what we can use in court, and that's the problem. It's the problem that normal citizens get criminalized by these huge surveillance. I don't have a problem when they target specific groups or specific people, and maybe they even make it a little bit larger. Because there's a connection between the criminal and somebody else. Maybe it's his brother, sister, nephew, I don't know what. That's fine, but it is just that they say we're going to collect everything from everybody. That's the problem.
Well, did you see what they did in Spain this last week? It's not to do with data, but basically it's now illegal to film any policeman or person of authority, basically, so any politician. there are fines of up to 30,000 euros for any unlicensed protest. There are fines for up to 30,000 euros, or arrest and fines, if you look like a group of people look like they are about to protest. You can't protest now, again, arrest and fine if you, I don't know why, but in abandoned buildings. You can't share any social unrest or protest via social media, which will be arrest and fines. Literally, I mean, they've gone, you know, it's like you can't fart. If you look at, and they don't specify what they mean by habitually, but if you habitually view any news or websites pertaining to terrorism, then there's imprisonment of up to 5 to 10 years. So basically, you can't read the news about some car being blown up or something. And another cracking one is, I think, which Edwin and I were discussing. If you've got a solar panel and you generate electricity, you have to register that now, because they are now going to tax you on the electricity that your solar panel generates and charge it at the same cost of normal electricity. So they've effectively taxed sunshine. The world's gone to shit, man.
In Spain, they're probably reacting to, I put a link in the chat there, to Podemos, P-O-D-E-M-O-S, which I think it means something like of the people or something, or party of the people. But
those are the kids that are in power.
Yeah, they're currently the second largest Spanish party by number of members after the People's Party. So at the next election, those guys are just going to sweep in. When they were barely, I think it was barely 3 months old, they made significant gains in the last election. I'm just reading off Wikipedia here. They got 8% of the national vote.
Yeah, they brought all this in. I mean, my sister lives in Barcelona, and there's not a day that goes by without a riot going on. I mean, they were severely hit hard. Some places you're looking at 50% unemployment. They were really hit hard.
Of course, you're going to have a riot.
Yeah, but now it's illegal, mate.
Well, look, let's call this a wrap for yet another week. I see we still have viewers, and for that, I thank you very much. Your interest in us makes what we do worthwhile. We'll be back at the same time next week to do it all again. In the meantime, we're just going into Green Room now, and we'd love to have you join us. If you go to the SEO Questions community, you'll see a post there. I think it's the second one down, and it contains a link directly into this Hangout. We won't be on the air, but we'd love to have a chat with you. Anyway, same time next week, we'll be back to do it all again. Thank you very much.